everyone, I'm Olivia and welcome back to another video. As you might have noticed, this video is pretty long and I promise it's for a good reason. We're going to be learning how to make 3 different multicolored hairs, 2 ombre hairs, and 1 striped hair. And at the end of the video, we're going to be learning how to draw and shade in our own accessories that we can add onto our hairs, as well as learning how to use custom brushes. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so to start off, we're on our app Ibis Paint X, and our first step is going to be to click My Gallery, and that's going to take us to all of our previous designs, and we are going to click on the plus on the bottom left corner. As always, we want our canvas size to be 256 by 256 because that is the only file size that is accepted when you submit your hair textures. So I've hit OK and I'm zooming my canvas out a little bit, and we're going to be making an ombre that goes from top to bottom. So I'm going to be doing a blue to green color for my ombre. So you can see I'm pulling up my color wheel and I'm selecting my blue color. So once we've found our color, we want to make a ruler by clicking this button in the top right and making a 180-degree horizontal ruler. We're going to make our brush a little bigger, make sure we have the soft felt tip pen brush equipped, and begin making horizontal lines from top to bottom with varying color. So you can see I'm going to slowly start going towards the green color on the color wheel. I'm just making a few lines that go from top to bottom and slowly go towards green. And once you finished your ombre, we're going to click the brush icon and click filter. And in the blur section, we're going to click on the moving blur filter. We want our strength to be at 150 and our direction to be at 90 degrees, so straight up and down. And you can see that this fully blends in our ombre and makes it look nice and pretty. And our next step is to create another layer, and we're going to click the plus and change it from normal setting to add. We're also going to turn our transparency down to, I like to put it around 30%. This is going to make everything on this layer nice and bright and light. So once we do that, we're going to get rid of our ruler and actually start drawing the lines of our pattern. So I'm doing a wavy pattern. If you want to keep doing a straight pattern, keep the ruler, put it at 90 degrees and keep drawing lines. I have a tutorial if you want to check that out. But here I am just drawing all of my lines, and you'll notice me switching from blue lines to green lines. We want to make sure that we get all of the colors that are going to be in our ombre, because even if they might not be as visible in this layer, it will be in the next one. So once you feel like your lines are evenly distributed around the canvas, we're going to go look at our layers by clicking on the number 2, and we're going to change the transparency around on this layer however we think it looks the best. And once we do that, we're going to go ahead and create another layer, and the lines on this layer are going to be darker, and this is where you can really see the different colors come out of the ombre. So we're going to click the plus, and we're going to change it from the normal setting to multiply. And now that we've done that, we're going to do the same thing that we did on our last layer, making lines all the way across the canvas and switching between our colors. So once you've done that, we're going to go and check on our layers again and change the transparency of our current multiply layer and see whatever transparency looks the best with our design. So once we're done with that, we're going to go ahead and add another layer by clicking the plus and changing it from normal to multiply. And when we do our wavy texture, we draw our roots in an arch shape so the moving blur filter doesn't get messed up. You can see that I made my brush size a little bigger and I changed to a blue since I'm starting at the top, and here I am adding my waves. And once I finish the top, I like to go to the moving blur filter just to make sure that it's the right color and that everything looks natural, and I like the way it turned out. So I'm going to switch to my green and work on the bottom. I turn my transparency down a little bit, and I do the same thing just going the opposite direction since that's the way my waves are going. So now we're done with that and we're going to our moving blur filter, and it looks very pretty. So now our last layer is going to be our highlights. We're pressing the plus and changing it from normal to add. And you want to make sure your transparency is around 30 to 40, but you can always change this when you're done and see what looks the best to you. So I'm starting at my blue again, and I'm making my color lighter, and I'm making little S shapes all the way across my canvas in the middle wherever the wave is. If you're doing straight hair and you're confused on what to do here, later on in the video I'm also doing a straight hair, so you'll see how to do the highlights there. So now we're going to go back to our moving blur filter, and I don't really like how strong the highlights are, so I'm messing with my transparency and the strength of the moving blur, and as always you can adjust this however you want, just to see whatever you think looks the best and the most natural for your hair. And once you figure that out, you're pretty much finished. And the next thing we're going to do is work on making an ombre that goes from left to right or horizontally, as opposed to this one which is up and down. So to do that, I'm going to be starting over with a blank canvas with the same size and measurements. I'm clicking on my ruler in the top right, and I'm going to make sure that this time it is vertical instead of horizontal. So we want it to be straight up and down 90 degrees. I like to move it out of the way. And I'm going to be doing a red to pink ombre for this one. So I'm picking out my red color, and the same way we did our ombre on the last one, we are going to be doing the same thing, except we're going from left to right. So once you finish putting down your base colors, we're going to go back to our moving blur filter in the blur section, and this time we're going to be changing the direction from 90 degrees to 180 degrees, so fully left to right. And this completes our base ombre, and we're going to go ahead and make another layer by clicking on the 1 and hitting the plus, and we're changing it from normal to add. And I like to change my transparency first, so I put it at about 30, and this is when things get a lot similar to the last one that we did. We're just adding a bunch of lines that go all the way across, but for this one we're going to make sure that we're switching our colors as we go along. So you see some of my pink is in the red section and some of my red is in the pink section, just to give it a more natural kind of combination of colors. So once you finish up with your lighter colors, we're going to go ahead and create another layer, changing the setting to multiply. This layer is going to be for our darker colors. I'm putting my transparency at around 30 again, and this is where your darker colors come in, and we're doing the same thing that we did on our last layer. So once you finished up this layer, we're going to create another one for our roots, and we're going to change the setting to multiply again. And you can see I'm going back to my red color and making it dark. Again, just like with the last time, we're going to slowly move towards our other color in our ombre, just to create a more blending effect. And once again, I'm going to check my moving blur filter and put the direction at 90 degrees straight up and down. And once I like the way it looks, I'm going to go ahead and begin on my bottom roots. And once you feel good about the way you've drawn the roots, you're going to go to your moving blur and make sure everything looks the way you think it should be looking. And I like the way mine is looking right now, so I'm going to go ahead and add my last layer, which is for the highlights. And we're going to set it from normal to add and lower our transparency to around 25 to 30. And again, you can change this however you like. And this is the part of the video I was talking about where we're going to be doing the highlights for straight hair. So we're going to be choosing a really light color for the first part of our ombre and slowly switching over to the other color, and we're going to make 2 lines worth of these triangle shapes and then go to our moving blur once we're done. And you can change the strength or the transparency on this layer however you want, however you think it looks the best. And once you finish up with that, you are pretty much done with your horizontal ombre. So in this part of the video, we're going to be making a multicolored stripy hair. So you can see I've got my ruler out, it's at 90 degrees, and I'm going to move it out of the way and select the colors that I want for this hair. So you're going to be picking 2 or more colors. I'm picking a purple and blue, and I'm going to be making purple and blue stripes. And this layer is going to be a bit different than the base layers we've been doing previously in the video. We're not going to be using a moving blur filter. This is just going to be purely for our stripes, and this is the part where you want to pretty much get thinking about how many you want, how big you want them to be, etc. So now I'm going to save my purple color by holding down and dragging it here, and I'm going to move towards my blue color, which will be my stripes. And I'm going to apologize in advance, my stripes are not going to be symmetrical or even. I'm cringing as I'm editing this, and I apologize. But regardless of how symmetrical your stripes are, we're going to go ahead and add another layer and change it to add and put our transparency at anywhere from 25 to 30%, just like our last ones. So this is where we move to our lighter color, and a lot of people get intimidated at this part, but your ruler is going to be your best friend. You just want to make sure you're sticking to the margins of your singular stripe that you're working on. I recommend doing the stripes one at a time, and just go as slow as you need to. Definitely zoom in on your canvas, that'll definitely make it easier. And whenever you feel like you're confident with how it looks and you think it looks nice and clean, we're going to go ahead and add our next layer, changing it to the setting multiply and putting our transparency at around 30%. And we're going to be doing the same thing we did on the last layer, but using our darker colors. And whenever you feel good with the way that it looks, we're going to actually move on to our roots and create another layer. So we're adding our layer and changing it to the setting multiply, and this part can be a little bit frustrating. You can see me struggling here. It's really hard to not get the lines. I'm doing absolutely horrible, but hopefully you'll be able to be better at it than me. I am doing one color at a time and then switching to my purple stripes, just so I don't go absolutely insane. But whenever you're done with that, go to your moving blur, keep the settings the same, and you're done with your roots. So next we'll be adding our highlights. We're changing our setting to add and putting your transparency at around 30% or whatever looks good to you. So we're doing the same type of highlighting that we did on our last hair. We're doing the straight up and down with our ruler, and we're making the triangle patterns. Because we have stripes and different colors going on, you're going to have to kind of guesstimate where your triangle and your points are going to be, but hopefully you can do it. And whenever you're finished with that, we go back to our moving blur and activate it. And it looks gorgeous, and this is pretty much the end of the main video. The next part is going to be a little bit of a bonus part, just where I teach you how to make some shapes that you can add onto your hairs, and add some fun stuff like custom brushes and other things like that. So here I have some brush strands with different hair types, and the first thing that I'm going to do is show you how to draw a little bead on the hair strand on the left. So here I am, I'm going to pick out my orange color, and I'm adding a layer. We want to keep it on normal for now, because if you change it up, it looks a little bit transparent. So I'm just going to draw out a circle in whatever shape of bead that I want. And I'm going to get a little bit of a lighter orange and then one shade lighter and shade it like this. And if you like how that looks, you can do that. Or if not, you can go to your moving blur and put the strength all the way down and move your direction to about 180. And it looks a little bit blurry, but we're going to add another layer later and we'll outline it so that that blur goes away, but the middle is still blended. So our next step is to add another layer, and we're going to change the setting to add. You can keep the transparency on 100 for now and change that later. We're going to get a way lighter color that's almost white and make our brush size a little smaller, and just make kind of a tornado shape that widens at the larger width of your bead. And once you do that, we're going to put on our moving blur. Keep your direction at 180, but adjust the strength however you want. The more strength it has, the more transparent it's going to be, and the less strength it has, the more bright your highlight is going to be. And you can always change your transparency here if you think it's too strong. So this is the way that I like my bead to look. And the next thing we're going to do is I'm just going to quickly show you how you can add your next layer and kind of just even out the blurry parts around your bead. So you're just going to make an outline in a relatively dark shade of whatever color you chose, and this is just going to make it look more clean and pretty. So now I'm just going to show you some other shapes that you can make. This is going to be super sped up and fast because I don't want to make this video tremendously long, but here I am making a heart shape, and then I'll be making a butterfly shape. So now that we've done some shapes or beads, the next thing we're going to look at is like little hair ties that go around the strands, and this is pretty straightforward. The one thing I would say to definitely be careful of is making sure that you're following the direction of the hair. So you can see that I'm making mine in an arch because the hair strands move in that direction. You don't want to put it just straight across or going the wrong way. So as long as you do that, it should look nice and clean. So the last thing we're going to be doing in the video is checking out custom brushes. As you can see, I have a lot of fun ones. You can use the online tab on the right to look for whatever kind of brush you want, and there's going to be a lot of options. So I'm going to show you this little flower one. You can put it in whatever color you choose, adjust the sizing, and just put them all along your strand and have fun with it. I'm going to be using a bubble brush for this blue curl here. And the curl that I used for this strand here is also a custom brush. I can link it in the description if anyone wants me to. I will say the only downside of these custom brushes is that they can be a little bit wonky when you try to place them on the screen. They might not place exactly where you think you're clicking at, so you just kind of have to mess around with it a little bit. As you can see, I found this heart brush in the basic section. There's lots of cool brushes that you can get from there, so if you don't want to look in the custom ones or in the online section, there's tons of cool ones that you can find in the basic one. I definitely recommend looking through all of the brush options and just having fun and going wild with all of the custom brushes. They're super pretty, and making shapes that go along with them can be so fun. Just experimenting with different hair types, doing waves and curls and locks, like some of the ones on the screen. There are custom brushes that can help with that. I have a lot of them. They're super great options, and I can't recommend enough looking into that and having fun with the hairs, because the more creative your hairs are, the more likely it'll actually get into Royale High. But other than that, that's pretty much the end of the video. I hope I was able to show you guys how to make some really cool multicolored and unique creative hairs that you can hopefully submit into Royale High. As always, if there's any other kind of tutorial you'd like me to show you or do for you, please let me know, put it in the comments. If this video helped you out and you made your hair of your own, send a DM to me on Twitter. I would love to see what you made. My Twitter is in the outro, and I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope this helped you out. So I'll see you later, guys. Bye!